Welcome to the 2020 virtual Vegfest that I am honored to be a part of. It's a shame that we can't all be together this year. Maybe next year we can all be face to face. My name is Chris Peed. Some of you may know me online as the Vegan Sheepdog. I am coming to you from beautiful Germantown, Ohio. And I was asked to share a little bit of my story. So, like most of us here, we are here for the animals. We're here for and are concerned about the environment, as well as taking a account of our personal health. But like most of us here today, we're here for the animals, as I am. However, I have a little different story. I have a little different journey to get here than many of you guys do. And I was asked to share that, and I'm honored to be able to speak to you today to share this time in this moment to share a little bit about my story. So if you have not been following along, I grew up like most boys in Ohio, in the Midwest in the United States. I grew up hunting and fishing in woods much like this. I was taught that we need to eat animals to survive. I was taught that we needed to drink dairy to survive, to grow up to be big and strong men. I grew up in a family that hunting was not just a way of life, it was tradition. I have a set of pictures that I always displayed. It was a picture of my dad and I with a deer that I'd killed. Another picture was with my dad and my grandpa with the deer they killed, and that third picture was a picture of my grandpa and my great-grandpa with the deer my grandpa had killed. It was something I used to be proud of, to show that generational history, to show what men in my family do. And it's been quite a journey for me, and I'll tell you how that started, but I am proud to report that this past deer season in Ohio was the first in probably 40 years that my dad did not go out and kill a deer. So I've been very busy sharing my story and sharing my journey with anyone who will listen, including those close to me, such as my dad. The story did not go well at first because it was met with such opposition from my dad in particular. We had some lengthy and awful arguments about hunting, about consuming animals, about the change in my life. And it took a lot for him to start seeing the impact on myself. It took a lot for him to start understanding the impact on my health and the impact on the animals and the environment that I was now on this new path. So for me, it started because of my wife. I am very fortunate that I am married to a very strong woman, but I put her in a very unfortunate situation. I put her in a situation that she was uncomfortable telling me something that she had made a decision on, but she sat on it for a while because she was scared of my reaction. So that is a failure in my part as a man, as a husband, as a partner, as a friend to her. I messed up. So our very first date was at a place called Young's Jersey Dairy. And I can tell you right now, if anyone would have said you two will be vegan after you get married, neither of us would have said that would happen. I've said in my life I could never be vegetarian. I've said I could never be vegan. And she has said I could easily be vegetarian, but I could never be vegan. Thankfully, that all changed. So for her, when the journey started, it started because she fell in love with a cow. She started following this cow online. She started watching his pictures and videos and was so invested in his well-being and what he was doing. And then she'd come up with a feeling that she felt like a hypocrite because she loved and cared for this cow, but she's feeding our family more animals, more cows, more chickens, more pigs. She's always struggled anytime any of the kids were like, oh, this was a chicken or this was a cow. She would always push her plate away and she'd be done, but she wasn't ready to listen to that until she fell in love with him. His name was Dudley, and Dudley was very special. So as she started following this cow, she started showing me these videos and pictures of him, and it was adorable, absolutely, but I wasn't interested. So finally she'd made up her mind that she was done eating meat. The problem she was married to me. She knew the arguments and conversations that we'd had about hunting, and Unfortunately, I will say I did not react well to most of those, and I defended hunters. I defended the actions of myself and my own family. So she was concerned with how I would react, so she came up with a plan. She called me at work one day about 8 a.m. and said, "I'm done eating meat. I love you." Click. She hung up on me. We laugh about it, and it's funny now because things have worked out well. But at first, I was like, what do I do? Do I support my wife? Do I change my way of living to support her? And I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I thought about it for a little bit, and then I called her back and I said, look, I'll support you at home, but I'm still going to make whatever choice I want to make when we're not together. So if I go to lunch with my friends, I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I'm not interested in changing, but I'll be supportive at home. And just so we're on the same page, if I wasn't supportive at home, I would have had to cook my own dinner. There's no way that she would have continued to bring things into our home that she felt that strongly against. So I really appreciate her being strong enough to start this journey for us. And, for me, my journey started a month later. I made a decision to take her to meet this cow at this sanctuary, and I knew she would be excited about it. I knew I'd get brownie points for it. What I did not know was how important that trip was going to be for me. Meeting Dudley for the first time, putting my hands on him, I could feel his presence, his body, his spirit, his soul, his energy, whatever you want to subscribe to. At that moment, I said, I get it. I'm in, let's do this. And I hadn't eaten another animal since. So our journey started that day in June, and we still weren't ready to be vegan. We didn't understand what all went on in the dairy industry. We had no idea. The dairy industry fools us into believing that happy cows make better cheese. They fool us into believing that it's harmless for the cows, and we bought into that. We bought into the marketing of it. And as we started doing more research, we started learning more and educating ourselves. We finally made the decision on January 13th of 2018 that we were done with dairy, and haven't looked back. Short of marrying my wife and our children, by far one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I decided to start sharing my story, and I created a page called The Vegan Sheepdog. And some people seem to follow it. Some people seem to understand where I'm coming from and have been very supportive of this. I decided to share my journey because I felt it was important to speak to others, especially those that have my same or similar backgrounds. A lot of times you get this misconception that, if you need to eat meat to be a man, you need to be masculine, you need to hunt and kill things. It's a bunch of crap. Men are predominantly seen as protectors and defenders of the weak, the innocent, and the vulnerable. What is more weak and innocent and vulnerable than a defenseless animal? I think it's imperative that we all share our stories, because you never know who's going to listen. You never know how much someone may or may not be listening, whether it's just your close circle of friends, or if you put up a public page for the world to chime in on, which isn't always easy. Thankfully, I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I try not to let some of the things that people say get to me. It's hard sometimes when people are so cruel and insist on being cruel to animals. My wife is much kinder than I am, so it's hard for her when she sees people say these things to me. It's hard for her to let those things go and process those differently than I do myself. Without a doubt, sharing my story has been something that has been so important to me. So you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on YouTube under The Vegan Sheepdog. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. The important part is not that my message is a little different or how I deliver my message is different than others do. The important part is that I'm here fighting for the animals, just as most of you are. There are so many different people out there that have different backgrounds. They've had different paths, And they need to hear different stories versus I was raised vegan my whole life, which if you were, hats off to your parents, bravo. I wish I could say that. Unfortunately, I can't. I can tell you by the time I was 10, I had taken the life of the first animal I'd ever hunted and killed. It was a squirrel. I could walk you into the woods where this happened at. I could tell you about the sunlight beaming through the trees. I could tell you about the weather that day. It's a day I'll never forget. And I don't hide those moments. I talk about them, I share them, I use them as tools. I don't use it as a crutch. With that history, I can have that conversation with other hunters, farmers, and ranchers because, like it or not, we need to have those difficult conversations with those men and women. And I said women because it's not just men who are out hunting and slaughtering animals. When you have that perspective change, when you go from a hunter to a defender, it's a whole different mindset. And it's one that I was not ready to make until my wife, who was ready to lead me down that path. I was very fortunate that she was strong enough to tell me that she was done eating animals. I was very fortunate that she was strong enough to lead me in a direction without pushing me in the wrong way. You can ask my wife. I may be a little stubborn from time to time, so she had to steer gently, but she did so in a manner of which that was not off-putting, that didn't just turn me off from it and didn't make me go tone deaf to what she was sharing and saying. So if anyone ever appreciates the things that I share, the things that I do, the things that I put out there, you can thank my wife for those things because I wasn't ready. I wasn't interested. I wasn't listening. I wouldn't say I wasn't listening. I wasn't receptive to what she was saying for the things that I was listening to, but I definitely wasn't ready. So she was kind and patient with me for a month. Thankfully, that's all it took before I made my choice to stop eating animals, and then together we made our choice to go vegan. For me, it's simple. You know, there are interactions I have on almost a daily basis when I bring it up. Today, I'd met some individuals that they shared with me that they had to put down a dog, and they were heartbroken over that. And I know that pain. We all know that pain if you've had a loved one that, you know, you've taken care of or rescued as a pup and had to say goodbye to them. And I shared that with some other folks that I was working with today, and they all had that immediate reaction because they know that feeling, they know that pain. One lady confided in me that she goes, I've only cried about two things in my life, the loss of my dog and the loss of my dad. And I said, that loss, that pain from the loss of your dog is the exact reason why I don't eat any animals anymore. I said, there's no difference in a pig suffering and a dog suffering. There's no difference in a cow suffering. I said, we've rescued a cow who's the biggest grass puppy you've ever met. And she said, I could see that about you. She said, that's awesome to hear. And, you know, it didn't spark much more conversation from her today, but maybe it does tomorrow. Maybe those seeds are planted and that conversation will be open the next time it's available. So I encourage anyone to share your story, like I said a few minutes ago. It's important. So who's going to be more influential? Your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors. Of course, it's nice when you see incredible celebrities like Joaquin Phoenix rescuing animals, talking about winning an award, and what he wanted to get up was talk about the dairy industry. Talk about how being cruel to animals is unacceptable. That is very important because they're going to reach the masses. But who's going to reach your neighbor? A lot of times I try to lead by example. I try to lead with compassion and kindness. I don't always get it right. But I try my very best to lead with compassion and kindness, but don't pretend for half a second that I'm not willing to bow up and defend these animals any chance I got. It's just kind of who I am. I would defend my family, I'll defend my flock, my herd from anyone. I will encourage anyone to start their own journey. For me, you know, people come to this movement and I accept them wholeheartedly. They come to this for one of three reasons. Obviously, veganism is about the animals. But there are also people that come to this movement for environmental concerns, health concerns. And once you see how tightly those three are correlated, you can't impact one without impacting the other two. So if you're here for the animals, you're doing a better job impacting the environment and doing a better job impacting your health. If you're here for the environment and your health, that means you're having a profound impact on the animals as well. So for me, I welcome anyone who wants to start their journey. I wish I could say that I had the power to switch overnight. I didn't. So I encourage anyone to start making changes today. Start with your next meal. Start with your next purchase. Start with one step in the right direction. Now, is one step enough? Is Meatless Mondays enough? No. Meatless Mondays only works if it turns into Meatless Tuesdays, then Meatless Wednesdays, and Meatless Thursdays. And then finally, you're meatless for a week, meatless for a month, meatless for a year. I want to see people working towards that, which is one of the things I try to encourage other folks to do. So, listen, there are lots of incredible people that are taking part in this weekend. Please take advantage of some of these videos and stories that are being shared. There are some incredible people sharing some amazing stories, and hopefully those are something that you can connect with, take to your friends, share with your friends and family, and have them check those out. Because, again, you never know what is going to click with someone else. It's going to take all of us sharing our stories, whatever journey and whatever path we came to get here, so we can get as many people to stop consuming, torturing, slaughtering, and exploiting animals. And I'll tell you what, I made a promise to Dudley, this cow that changed my life. I promised I'd spend the rest of my life fighting for animals and using my voice to make sure others can do the same. Hope you guys have a good one. Thank you very much for coming and checking this out. I'm hoping that this is a big success for this virtual Vegfest. And, hopefully next year, maybe we can all get together face to face, enjoy some incredible vegan food, and talk about what we're going to do to help encourage others to change their lives too.